Thank you for listening. This is the Jake and Josh podcast. I am Jake.
And I am Josh.
We have, because we like to do different things on this show, today we actually we have an interview with an author.
Yeah, we had Jack July, who is the author of a book series called Amy Lynn, where it follows a Southern Christian girl. And he has 3 in the series so far, and number 4 is in the works.
Yeah, he's, well, according to the interview, he's about halfway through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to be us kind of, testing some new waters here. We got him. He called into the show.
Yeah, we've talked about in previous podcasts how we finally have the technology to do call-in interviews.
And now we're utilizing the technology.
Yeah, because some people would have it and then just not use it.
Yeah. But then we wouldn't be able to do that.
Right. So we had Jack July, who you'll hear in a moment. We kind of just have him recount. I mean, obviously we talked about him being an author, but when I first heard his story,
he's got a pretty fascinating life.
Yes. Like, so a random life tangent about myself is I always wonder, like, a typical life maybe 50 or 60 years ago, like you become an adult, you get a job, you work that job for like 40 or 50 years.
And then you die.
No, you retire and then 2 years later you die.
Right.
But now it's kind of possible, or it's more feasible to like do a multitude of different things. And so you don't have to necessarily specialize in anything.
Right.
And Jack, I mean, author, skydiving instructor.
Which you'll hear about all those things that he's done, but he's a real jack of all trades, master of none.
Oh man, I don't have the soundboard at the ready. Otherwise, we'd rim shotted that. So yeah, normally, did I say rim job or rim shot?
I don't know.
It's always I'm always self-conscious about Freudian slips. So yeah, this episode's gonna be one of our longer ones, and it's just me and Jake.
But it's a very
me, Jake, and Jack.
We don't say a whole lot during the episode. It's a lot. It's mostly Jack talking, but we were just as enthralled as we hope you will be.
Yeah, and through most of it, I'm casually petting Jake's leg.
Hard.
So yeah, this is the first.
Cue the music.
Yep.
Coming at you live from the second floor of Trump Tower in New York. It's the only thing better than the accuracy of a drone strike. Convoluted and comical. It's the Jake and Josh Podcast.
Welcome back.
Yes, so that was our theme music, which we are contractually obligated to...
Obligated by me.
Yeah, right. Jake is the creator of most music and commercials that you'll hear on this podcast, so it's a contractual...
All the music, like 33% of the commercials.
Okay, yeah, I never actually thought about it, but yeah, you're probably right. So yeah, this is the interview with Jack July, and we are dubbing this the Jake and Josh and Jack.
The Jake and Josh and Jack.
The Jake and Jack and Josh podcast.
Jake, Jack, Josh, July.
J-Cube. Whoa. Yeah, okay. Listen up.
All right. Welcome. We are here with author Jack July. How you doing, Jack?
Wonderful. Nice to meet you, Mr. Jake, on the radio.
Yeah, thanks for giving us a call.
Oh, I'm more than happy to be on your show. I listen to a lot of your podcasts, and I must say I don't find very many things funny, but I was involuntarily chortling, which it's pretty high praise coming from you. So good
now,
for you.
Jack, is a chortle more than a chuckle?
Yeah. A chortle is more than a chuckle, but less than a laugh out loud, I think.
And
okay.
It's like a chortle is like when you exhale air out of your nose very quickly, where it's like
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, Jack July is a accredited author of a small but growing book series Jack, can you tell us a little bit about your book series?
Yes, I can. Actually, I'm now an award-winning author. I won a bronze medal for Book of the Year from the Conservative Libertarian Fiction Alliance for my second novel,
Wow.
Golden Angel.
Well, congratulations.
But the first novel, the foundation novel, is called Amy Lynn. The second novel is called Amy Lynn Golden Angel, and the third novel is Amy Lynn The Lady of Castle Dunn. The first novel is a foundation novel that follows a young Southern Alabama Christian girl through a life that isn't always sparkling, and it's kind of tough, but with the love of family and Christ and firearms, she finds her way through. The second book is Golden Angel. This is where we find out what our young lady wants to do with her life. It starts when she's 21 years old. I wrote the books and I can't remember. But I'm telling you, there's so much stuff people ask me about my own books. I'm going, I wrote that? Really? Oh, wow.
Now, and I'm sorry to interject. So for our listeners, in 2 of the 3 books, the cover is Amy Lynn with her back to us, and she's carrying a rifle. So she's seemingly very Southern and very Christian.
Yes, and I kind of cheated because I grew up actually I grew up all over the country because I'm a Navy brat, but I spent most of my time in Wisconsin and Indiana, so I used my Midwestern sensibilities. That's where I kind of write from. And we like our guns, and we like our God, and we like our country, and that's kind of where I wrote it from. But anyway, Golden Angel, you can see all these, by the way. They're on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. They're for sale both electronically and Dead Tree.
Yes, and when we post this episode, we're going to post links to the Amazon pages for each.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, that way the listeners can check it out.
Oh, cool. Okay, and the second book is basically takes place in a period of 9 days, where we find out what our little Southern Christian girl is going to become, and it's kind of special. And in the third book, she kind of hits her stride. She gets married, and it's called The Lady of Castle Dunn, and they're a lot of fun. It's a complete accident that I'm an author. I'm such an idiot redneck. It's unbelievable that anybody reads anything I write. But I have fans and everything. I have groupies and everything. My wife laughs at my groupies though because they're all women from like 40 to 80. They're like the ones that stalk me. So my wife thinks that's really funny because of course I couldn't get any, fake boob teenage Ukrainian and Russian hookers or nothing to follow me. But I have this like older regular women who buy my books, and God bless them all because I love them all. But
well, if you have to turn down any of the 80-year-olds, I will take your sloppy seconds.
Yeah, I think we.
Good man. I'll tell you what. Once that diaper's off, it's all fair. It's all fair.
We'll take one groupie. Like if we can get to a
I
level.
listen to your show. I know your humor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, so in the third book, so I saw the cover of the third book. So the first two books. They're both. She's back to the camera holding rifles. Third book,
Correct.
She's on a horse in front of a castle, Lady of Castle Dunn. It looks like that she's conquering Ireland.
She's what?
Yeah, where's the castle? Are there castles in southern?
Where is Castle Dunn?
Well, it's Ireland actually. Most of the book takes place in Ireland.
Okay,
So she moves from Alabama.
so she does conquer Ireland.
She is indeed, but if you understand the history of Alabama and the South, you'll understand that it's mostly Irish and Scottish immigrants that did all the mining and settled the area.
Okay,
So I take great pains to do research, and a lot of it's my family. I mean, a lot of it, like the first third of the foundation book, is true. It's my crazy ass Alabama moonshining family in all their glory. Because in the South, we don't hide our relatives. Like, we're not ashamed of them. We parade them across the porch proudly. So that's basically what this is. And I wait for a lot of people to die to write this because I didn't want to go to prison. But this was very therapeutic for me because my life has been kind of bizarre. So, and that's what I did. I wrote for therapy, and then I'll be darned if people didn't like it. And then the next thing I know, they're buying it. And the next thing I know, they want another book. And I'm like, how did this happen? Because I'm just kind of a really simpleton redneck. I'd never written anything longer than an 8-page term paper. I had no clue what I was doing.
So is the series going to go on?
Oh yeah, I'm halfway through book 4 right now. People volunteer to do stuff for me. I've never paid for a cover. The person that does my cover, your average cover is $2,500, $3,000. I have a woman that asks me to do my covers because she wants to be part of my book. Editors are anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 to $7,000. I have 3 people that edit my books I don't give a dime to because they just want to be part of this book, part of this project.
Wow.
And I'm blown away by it. You know, I'm like, I'm a simpleton. You can't, if you knew what a complete crazy person I was, you'd be like, wow, I can't believe this. My mom, I told my mom I wrote a book. She said, hell, I didn't know you could read. You know?
That's awesome.
I'm like, okay, yeah, fine, all right.
Now, so you said you're halfway through book 4. Do you already have an
Yes,
end
sir.
of the series in mind?
It is the Amy Lynn series. They're all Amy Lynn books. It's the Amy Lynn series. The 4th book, I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. Here, you guys don't tell nobody. I'll let you know a little secret. It's either going to be Blackout or Into the Fire. I'm not sure which.
You don't have to worry about us telling anyone. We're not publishing this
No,
episode or
don't
anything.
tell nobody. Okay. Because I don't let those big trade secrets out. You know.
Well, okay, so when J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter, she originally intended for the series to end after he graduated from wizard school. So, do you have a cessation idea? Is that the correct word? Cessate?
When is Amy Lynn going to graduate from
Wizard school?
I don't know. You know, I don't know. I it's funny because when I wrote the first book, I was going to kill her at the end of the first book. and no, I'm serious. I thought one and done, and not like I thought anybody would actually read it, you know? Like, I didn't think anybody would read it. I really didn't. I just thought this was one of the things. I've done so much stuff in my life. I've set out to do things. I've accomplished goals. And then I moved on to the next thing because I really don't have the patience to stick with one thing until I started this writing thing. And then it's like climbed inside of me. And I took all the things that I'd done before I started writing the first book, and I used all those people and all those situations and all that and all the knowledge that I've acquired, and I started writing about life and all the mistakes I made and how I could have done it differently. See, it's all a big what if. What if I would have done this differently? This is what could have happened. This is who I could have been. This is what I wanted to be.
Right. It's like an alternate history of your own life.
Right, and this family that I created is not exactly the family that I have. This is the family I wanted. If these people were this way, I would have been this way. If they would have thought this, I would have thought this. But instead, I had to learn all of these horrible lessons the hard way. You know, I mean, I went to jail. You know, I've been in jail. You know, it was funny when I met my wife. She says, "Oh my God, I've never met anybody that's ever been in jail." She said, "Your whole family's been in jail." I said, "Yeah, pretty much."
Man.
I'm like, yeah, that's the way it is.
So
but then I learned.
So jail.
Yeah. What'd you get? Well, and we should have prefaced this from the beginning. You can say no comment.
Yeah.
We don't want to pry.
Okay.
But what'd you go to jail for? And you have to tell us.
Meth.
I'm just kidding.
Meth? No, meth.
Okay.
Wow.
Methamphetamine.
What is meth like? I've always wanted to try it, but I'm nervous.
Okay. I'll tell you what it is.
Yes.
Drugs in general, okay, I never did drugs in high school. I never drank until I joined the Navy. I joined the Navy when I was at the end of my senior year of high school. I never drank a drop of liquor. I never did any drugs. I never did anything. I was busy in the garage building race cars with my dad, you know, and I was scared to death because he said if he ever caught me, he would kill me, and I believed him because he was nuts. And so when I joined the Navy, I met a friend of mine who turned me on to the wonderful, wacky world of liquor. The first time I got messed up was on Slow Gin and Orange Juice.
Nice.
Flash forward 4 years after my military career, I took a job with a CIA think tank and working late nights and long hours, doing things for the military. I had a boss who was basically, he was kind of like, he would remind you of the guy from Back to the Future, the scientist from that. He was kind of crazy. And I was tired. It was like 12 hours.
Doc Brown?
Went by. And he said, let me give you some help. And he dropped this little powder on top of a scope and a military installation and, moved it around with a credit card. He said, here, snort that. And I went, dude, I don't do that. He said, it'll help you. And I snorted it, and it felt like somebody put a blowtorch in my nose. But I worked for like 36 hours straight. And I was happy to do so. And when I went home, I did things to my girlfriend that she didn't know you could do to another woman. So it's kind of like, it's good. To people who say drugs are bad, no,
meth
drugs
is
are
good.
a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. But it's the fallout from them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's what it takes from you and what it takes out of you.
Now, was that the only time you ever did meth, or did that start a trend?
Oh, no. That was when the love affair began.
Okay, I thought you got arrested for what you did to your girlfriend after you did meth.
No. Actually, she better enjoyed that. It's like, whoa, what's gotten into you? I said, I'll show you. Here, let me share some with you. Here you go. But there was a long period of, I was in Southern California. I was young. Pretty handsome kid. I was fat and obese in high school, and nobody liked me. None of the girls liked me.
Same here.
And I was kind of lonely, and I lived inside my head. But then when I joined the military, I lost all this weight, and I moved to Southern California, and I got a tan, and I was working out with my friends, and all of a sudden I was this good-looking kid, and the old gay men thought I was, the Christ child. They followed me everywhere. It was like, oh my God, you're the most beautiful kid ever. And the girls, I didn't like young girls because they treated me like crap in high school, and they treated me like crap most of my life. So I kind of fell in love with the 29 to 39-year-old women, the wives of other men.
The pre-MILFs.
So, yeah, well, they know what they're doing. They don't play around a lot because they got to get up and go to work. They don't have time to fool around. They get it. They get it done. You go home.
You don't have to tell them twice.
There's no games,
So
What, guys?
So you mentioned the we kind of rushed past the CIA think tank. I'm very interested in that. What was that all about?
Wait, hold on, Jack. Before you comment, I wanted to point out you said CIA think tank, and I was still more CIA, and I was still more interested in the meth. That's where my brain's at.
Okay, well, let me tell you what it is, basically. When people think of the Central Intelligence Agency, they think of spies, and they think of spooks, and they think of movies. And that's really not what it is. It's a very tiny part of our Central Intelligence Agency. What it is, it's a group of people who are the smartest in their field, whatever that field may be. If you saw The Hunt for Red October, Jack Ryan had a certain class. He wasn't a spy. He wasn't a spook. He wasn't a tough guy. But he had knowledge in a certain area, okay? Well, what they needed basically people to train in fiber optics. Now, in 1987, fiber optics was a very new science, and it was so new that it didn't even have its own nomenclature yet. For example, you would think decibel, you would think sound, but in fiber optics back then, decibel meant light intensity.
Okay.
So it didn't even have its own descriptors. Do you understand what I'm saying so far?
Yeah.
And I basically went and I saw an ad in the paper. It said, wanted, electronics technician. And I was an aviation electronics technician on F-14. And I was O-level, so I wasn't box level. Now, what O-level means is I work on the plane. I-level means you crack open the boxes and change the cards, and depot level means you actually work on the little cards and the little thing. Well, I was O-level. I worked on a flight deck on an aircraft carrier.
Okay,
which is the third most dangerous place in the world to work, according to Guinness Book.
What are the
But,
first
I
two?
Huh?
Do you know the first two?
The first
The
two most
first two?
dangerous places to work.
Yeah, you said that's the third most dangerous. I'm intrigued if you remember the
I
rest
do
of
not.
that list.
I do
Man.
not. I never paid attention.
I would think
just-
one is an
just-
elementary school bus.
Second is vending machine assembler.
Yeah. All right, we got the the list is done.
Yes, yes. Or anybody that likes Hillary, or anybody that turns on Hillary Clinton. That's pretty dangerous.
R.I.P. Benghazi. So,
All right, yeah.
yeah, you're on the aircraft carrier.
So, but anyway, I got off. I got out of the military, and I didn't have a job. I actually tried my hand at real estate for a while, but I was too young. I went to Century 21 school and got my real estate license. Tried that for 3 months, but figured out nobody wanted to buy $1 million houses from a 23-year-old kid. So I had to move on and do something else because I was hungry, and my girlfriend at the time, who I to this day adore, she wanted me to make money so we could live well. And so I answered this ad, and I interviewed in this crazy little apartment with this guy in a suit, and his name was Hank. And I'm not going to say his last name, but his name was Hank. And he asked me, he says, "So, Marshall, what have you been doing since you got out of the military?" And I lived in Ocean Beach in San Diego, which was they called it drug beach, really, because it wasn't the cool, fancy beach, but it was still a beach. It was still pretty, and it was still a lot of fun. And I lived on Bacon Street in a little apartment. But I said, well, this summer I've been playing volleyball with my friends. I get up in the morning, I have breakfast, I go play volleyball all day, I come home, I make my wife dinner. She was a occupational therapist. She works with hands. And or actually we did get married eventually, but that's neither here nor there. And he said, so now, I said, now I need to work and make money. And he goes, oh. He goes, do you have a top secret clearance? I said, yes, I do. He said, do you have electronics experience? He said, yes, I do. He said, do you have a mechanical background? I said, yes, I do. So we talked for a little while longer and hired me. And so next thing I know, I'm flying back and forth between Virginia Beach, Virginia, and San Diego, California, working on anti-submarine warfare trainers and submarine trainers, cabling these things with fiber optic cable. And they actually sent me to school to learn. Back then, it's much different now because the technology is better, but back then you actually had to splice that cable all the way to the glass there. You had to put a puck over the top of it. You had to epoxy it, and then you had to polish it with like micron paper and keep putting it into a tester until it read properly. It was a lot. It was very labor intensive and very difficult job. But I did not know until close to the end of my time there that this was a CIA think tank, and that's what it was. And I didn't know that until I actually met a CIA operative. And when you think CIA operative, most people think they think like Jack Reacher or something they've seen in a movie.
Jason
This guy
Bourne.
was like 5'7". This guy was 5'7". He had male pattern baldness. He looked like he would be getting your money at a bank.
He was an agent of
The only
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, the only difference is he had a rope for a belt. He had a
Whoa.
suit on and he had a hemp rope for a belt. And that intrigued me. And we were out having dinner, and I didn't know who he was or what he was at the time, but that intrigued me. So the following day, I said, who is that, Jethro Bodine wearing a rope for a belt? And he's like, and my boss looks at me, he says, no, he's far from Jethro Bodine. And I said, so tell me. He says, well, he was somewhere he shouldn't have been doing something he shouldn't have been doing, and the seas were rough. And he took off his belt and threw it over the side to grab his friend. His friend grabbed the belt, and the belt buckle slipped off. And his friend disappeared onto the waves, and he died. So ever since then, he's been wearing a rope for a belt. And I thought, wow.
Yeah, what a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, these are the kinds of things I've been exposed to, and that's just a little small part of it.
Now, how long were you in the think tank?
2 years, almost 2 years.
Did anything crazy happen that led to you exiting the tank of thinkers?
No, no. It was just one day. Okay, our projects are done. You're getting laid off.
Wow.
Oh no! But we'll call you if something else happens, and that was it. That was the end of it. And then I didn't have suddenly I didn't have a job, but I did have a love of methamphetamines and porn and craziness. So
And they probably loved how many hours you could work straight.
oh man, but when you crash, you crash. I mean, I used to sleep for 24 hours. I could work like 36, 48 hours in straight, and then crash for 24 hours. And but they didn't know this was going on. Only the boss that I worked for knew that was going on, and I only knew that he did it. I don't know how he thought I'd be susceptible to it, but somehow he did. I think drug addicts know who drug addicts are, and they know each other just by sight sometimes. Because I used to like to smoke a lot of weed, and I could tell you if somebody smoked weed or not just by looking at them, or just by talking to them for a second.
It's kind of like how black people can identify other black people.
What's that?
It says kind of like how black people can identify other black people.
Kind of, yeah. Although I think there are a few more signals and visual references and cues there. But yes, I could see a connection. Sure.
But before we move on with like kind of the timeline of how your life has led to being an author, I'm curious about fiber optics. Do you think, given what you know, fiber optics could still be the future?
Well, it's the now, actually. It's the now. And I only know what I learned then and little things that I've read since then. Mm-hmm. But our whole purpose for going to fiber optics and communication systems is because you can wire, whenever you send something over wire, it emits something. Mm-hmm. Okay? When you send light through glass, it emits nothing. And what they were having problems with is when they were sending out communications over wire, it could be picked up by, back then was the Soviet Union, because that was Cold War era.
Yeah, the USSR.
Right. But light, when you have, one source to another, and all of it is traveling light, there's nothing to pick up. There's no radiation of any kind, or whatever.
So super secure.
That's what I know that it's good, and I know that it's faster all the time on both ends. The computers are getting faster, everything's getting faster. The light. It's funny because the things I remember about it, in that little hair of glass, there's actually two layers of glass. There's something called a core and a cladding, and the core is a clear center, and the cladding is kind of a darker outside. And when that light hits, it if I remember this correctly, I could be wrong, but it reads it three separate ways. It reads it through pulse, like how many times that light hits the aperture on the other end. It reads it by intensity, how intense that light is, and it also reads it by the angle that the light bounces down off the cladding through the core into the aperture. So there's three different ways that light can be read at the other end. Now, I could be wrong because it was 30 years ago, but I think that's what I remember about it. And I remembered how cool it was and how happy I was to be a part of it. It was just mind-blowing to me. It was mind-blowing that I was a part of it. Because back then, everybody thinks, fiber optic, big deal. Back then, nobody ever knew they didn't know what that was. So that was kind of neat.
I don't think any of the internet providers in my neighborhood know what fiber optics is either, so they're not the only ones.
Yeah, we still use dial-up here. So I have this weird habit of, learning new information and then extrapolating weird hypothetical scenarios. But if fiber optics literally travels at the speed of light, I heard one time that if the sun quit burning, it would take 8 minutes for us to notice on Earth, because that's the amount of time it takes the light to travel from the sun to the Earth.
Yeah.
So then, theoretically, if you had a fiber optic cable that ran from the Earth to the sun, you could send messages in 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Indeed, you could. But no one would be there to hear them.
Well, you never know. Maybe we find some super heat retardant. That was a stretch. I apologize.
It was a stretch like that cable would be.
So after the think tank, did you stay in California or did you move?
Well, I stayed in California for a little while. I fell in love with, I fell in love with methamphetamine, and it caused me to become a different person, and I basically lost everything that I loved. And but I picked up aging stripper at Dirty Dan's there in San Diego, who also enjoyed Meth as much as I did.
Nice.
And we had a pretty good time together. Her and I did. We had a lot of fun. And there came a point though where things weren't real anymore. I couldn't hold a job. We didn't have any money. We were struggling.
Wait, how long were you all together? Like, what's the timeline of this relationship?
Okay, well, that was probably between 89 and 90.
Nice.
So it really wasn't very long, but it was flaming hot.
Flaming hot is the best way to describe a relationship and Cheetos.
Yeah, I love Cheetos,
and a meth habit.
Yeah.
Cheetos are good. I like Cheetos.
So you said that you moved a lot when you were young, and so it sounds like you were relatively more sedentary as you became an adult. But at what point did you leave California?
That would be late '89, early '90s. I was at the end of my rope, and I called my dad back in Indiana. And I said, I really need to get some marketable skills, and I think I don't know what to do. And he said, why don't you come home? I got a race car for you to drive. Because what happened was when I grew up, we always drag raced. From the time I was a little boy, when I was 5 years old, some of my first memories were at Orange County International Raceway in Irvine and Lyons. And anybody who's an old drag racing fan knows that those are the legendary, historic tracks of Southern California. And that's kind of where I was as a little boy, because my dad always had, even when he was in the Navy, he had a 68 Biscayne with a 427 in it that he ran in B-modified production. And this is what we did. We worked on cars. Some dads go camping, some dads play sports. My dad worked on cars, so I worked on cars. And where was I going with this? Anyway,
well, you said that your dad called you and said move to Indiana?
He said, come home, I got a car for you to drive. And I said, well, you got rid of all your drag racing stuff. He says, I know, I hooked up with these dirt track boys. So then I get back, and we used to make fun of the stock car guys, because we thought drag racing was superior to stock car. See, stock car people will always think stock car is superior, and drag racing people will always think drag racing is superior. Well, when I went home, they had an old late model for me there, and they said, well, you got to build it, but it's yours if you want to build it and run it. So I said, oh, okay. So I learned how to weld, repairing chassis in my dad's race car shop. I was a weld and mechanic and do those things. So he knew people at the union, at the millwright union, and they needed welders. So they got me into the millwright union, and I went to weld in the steel mill. So I would go work maintenance at the steel mills in Garrett, Indiana, and then I would work on my race car, and that's how I would make my money. And I completed this car, and I actually got to drive it. And let me tell you something. It's better than sex, dude. Driving a late model dirt car is better than sex. I know because I threw women away left and right.
So, okay, if you had to... we'll do another top 3 list. Sex, dirt cars, or meth?
Well, it would have to be dirt cars. Yeah.
Okay, dirt cars and then sex and then meth, or...
And they're the most expensive too, actually. I was better off being a heroin junkie than a racer, because only racers understand the amount of cash that it's just a cash tip. But oh my God, it's funny because people used to ask me, so what's it like driving a late model on a 3/8 mile track? And I said, well, it's kind of wild because it's 800 horsepower in a 2,400 pound car. And well, how fast do you go? I said, I don't know, 95 miles an hour going to turn. Oh, that's nothing, 95, because they're thinking Daytona, they're thinking 200 miles an hour. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell you what you do. I said, you get out on the 4-lane and get on the right side of the road. And I want you to take your car up to 90 miles an hour. And I want you to grab that steering wheel and turn it as hard left as you can. And then I want you to slide around and go back the other way. Then you'll know what it's like. And then I want you to do it with 4 of your friends around you in cars doing the same thing. And then tell me all about how easy it is. Because it is a thrill. I love it to death.
Okay, so next question. So you said your dad called you and said, come back to Indiana, he has a race car. But you also said earlier that your dad was crazy. So what made him crazy and what made you trust him later?
You know what? You always trust your parents, even when they crap on you over and over again. You love your parents. You know, that's why. I was, you know, my dad was crazy. He beat the hell out of me and my mother. He was not a nice man. Okay, and I'll just put that out there.
Yeah.
But you always love your parents. You know, it's we all want the same things. You know, I have a very good friend of mine who told me something that was pretty heavy. He said, you know, we all want the same things. We all want our moms and dads to love us. And I went, whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah.
And I think he's right. And I think he's right. And that's what I wanted. And I figured if I did this for him, if I showed him this, or if I worked hard, if I did this, he would finally like me. He would finally think I was special. But he never did. I was always a tool that he used for money or for his own status. And it was I didn't figure that out till much later, but that's what was going on.
Okay.
So how long were you in Indiana then?
I was in Indiana from the end of 90, 91, going on 92.
And where at in Indiana?
Gary.
Oh, that's like the
he was actually
the greatest place on earth.
My father was actually the white trash Tony Soprano. Believe it or not, they ran him and his brother ran a chain of chop shops throughout northwest Indiana, and it was, you know, my first time driving a vehicle. I was driving a pickup truck with two Lincoln Continental 460 motors in it to Black Gary to sell them. You know, I went to places where white people didn't go, but I was always protected. You know, I just drove this big old junk. I was 14. You know, I'm 14 driving into the most hellish parts of Gary you can imagine with stolen engines. You know, and they say, okay, go here, and then this big door opens, and I drive in, and this guy, hey, little Jack, he called me little Jack, because my dad was a big Jack, he was little Jack. Little Jack, come on in, and he'd give me a Coca-Cola, and they would unload the engines, and he'd give me an envelope of money, and I'd get my little truck, and I'd drive home. I'd give my dad this envelope, he'd give me $20, and that was it.
These sound like Grand Theft Auto missions.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said those sound like Grand Theft Auto missions.
And just so you're aware, the most hellish part of Gary, Indiana is Gary, Indiana. Like, it's gotten only worse.
Yeah, well, there's Terrytown, and that was going down into Terrytown. But, actually, we lived in a little town called Black Oak, which was it was kind of the hillbilly, it was the hillbilly buffer between White Hammond and Black Gary. It was called Black Oak, Indiana, which is why the mythical town where Amy Lynn grows up, is Black Oak, Alabama.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Nice little connection there.
So
it's funny because my friends who have read the book, they read right through it. They see everything. Oh my God, you know. Oh my God, I can't believe you wrote about this. I went, oh yeah, I wrote about it all. And they went, wow.
So people familiar with your life, the books are pretty transparent what you're writing about.
Oh yeah, they know exactly who the people are, and the characters in the book are people that I know.
You just changed their name.
No, the names were changed to protect the innocent, you know, and that's the way it should be. And me, yeah, and my family, yeah, and that's kind of the way that works.
Okay, so
and then I got
a.
Go ahead.
No, you go
then
ahead.
I got a call from my stripper girlfriend who was in trouble with a biker gang, so I flew her out. I flew her out to Indiana to be with me.
Permanently, or just till the heat went away?
What's that?
Did you have the intent of moving her back to Indiana permanently?
No, actually,
or just...
I didn't. She called me. I didn't know I would ever see her again. And
did you ever want to see her again?
She was beautiful. She was a beautiful woman, though. I mean, I was 25, 26. She was 35, 36.
Okay.
But she was a beautiful woman. Wow. She was something else, and she was filthy, and God, I loved her. But
yes.
Yeah, I mean it. When you're 25 years old and you have something that's just that filthy, you don't want to lose it. You know, it calls to you, and you want to bring it back over and over again, even though it's bad for you. You keep wanting it to come back.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just felt fortunate that I was able to, do those.
So did you all rekindle
Anyway.
your relationship in Indiana, or did it fizzle out
Well,
again?
I brought her back. My mom hated her, of course, because my mom and dad saw right. But actually, my dad was infatuated, so he thought she was it, because she was what she was, and my dad was like, damn, how did you do that?
Yeah.
It's like the song. You ever heard the song "Trashy Women" by I forget the country band, but I like my women a little on the trashy side.
That sounds like a
kind of-
Travis Tritt song.
Yeah, it's not a Travis Tritt song. It's what is it? Confederate Railroad? That's his name. Confederate
Wow.
Railroad.
Because I can hear the
Yeah.
hook in my head now.
Yeah, where they wear their clothes too tight and their hair is dyed. Yes, that's basically the line. But that's who she was.
Okay.
But she got in trouble with a biker gang and a meth deal gone wrong. So I had borrowed some money from my uncle, who is loosely based on my Uncle Jack in the book, and I flew her out to be with me, and she entered from San Diego, California. She walked into Black Oak, Indiana, and so the culture shock was pretty major.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
For her. And if you can imagine the difference between San Diego and Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
And she just wanted the hell out. So I said, okay. And somewhere in there we decided to clean up. And we did. We cleaned up our act. She got a job at a jewelry store chain called Osterman.
I've heard of that.
With those tits, she could sell anything. And she was a manager before we knew it. And I'm serious. And she was like bringing home bonus checks, just incredible bonus checks. And I'm like, wow, what are you doing for that? She says, I'm just selling jewelry. I said, you're the bomb, baby. And so she got transferred to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, up north of Milwaukee, to Northridge Mall, which no longer is. Now all they sell is crack pipes and Jerry Curl because the neighborhood has changed.
And hair weave. Don't forget
but
that.
It was a beautiful mall once upon a time when she was there in the early 90s. And then I showed up and I got a job at Harley Davidson Motor Company where I was a maintenance man. And I worked there for almost 20 years. And I go home on the weekends to race cars with my dad. But I worked third shift. I started out working third shift, and that's what happened there.
There's a third shift mechanic at Harley Davidson. Like if your bike breaks down at 3 a.m.
I didn't work on motorcycles. I worked in the factory in the engine transmission plant. I fixed the big
Gotcha.
machines that made little parts. I really know very little about motorcycles. It's funny because people found out I worked at Harley Davidson and they're like, dude, I got a 53 panhead and it's knocking on the top. And I'm like, whoa. I don't know crap about motorcycles.
Yeah, you should be like, you should see a doctor.
Yeah. Oh, here's a funny story. My friend Brian, who was an experimental mechanic who knew all about motorcycles, came to my house one day and brought his bike. And my neighbor was an Iranian doctor, cardiologist, coolest guy I ever knew. His name was Ramin. And he had a big Dutch wife who was like 6 feet tall. And he was this little guy. But he was so cool. And he thought I was brilliant because I could fix anything in his house. And I thought he was brilliant because he would pull out a script pad and give me anything I wanted. So anyway... So anyway, Brian comes over, right, and he's got his bike, and Ramin comes over to look at it. He goes, hey. Brian goes, hey. He goes, I really like your bike. He goes, yeah, thanks. And he goes, oh, what do you do? He goes, and Ramin goes, I'm a cardiologist. And he goes, oh, well, you and me are a lot alike. He says, I work on the heart of the Harley Davidson motorcycle. And Ramin goes, yeah, but do you do it while it's running?
That's awesome.
Slam, all done.
Yeah.
Point Ramin.
Drop
Move
the
on.
mic. Now, how long what was did you marry the aging stripper, or were you just boyfriend, girlfriend
I
at this
never
point?
did. No, I never did. No, she decided while I was working nights, she would enjoy the company of other men, and I approved of that, so we had to go our separate ways.
Dang.
I like that you said that you just disapproved of it, not like you were furious. It's pretty
Well,
level-headed.
what are you going to do? I
Burn
always
the
had
house
this
down.
attitude. Yeah, I always had this attitude when it came to women, and I never treated them like they were helpless. If people are going to do what people want to do, and if that's the path you want to take it. But I think what if my wife today, I've been married for 21 years now. Okay, if my wife today come and told me, she says, I think I want to go another direction, and I'd be like, well, that sucks. We've been together a long time. But as long as you come to me and tell me first what you have planned and don't let me find out about it,
Yeah.
because you've been doing it behind my back, I can respect you. I'll hate you for the rest of your life. I'll be sad. I'll cry. I'll drink a lot. But I won't. But I'll respect you for because that's the way you went at it. If you do shit behind my back and I find out about it and you lie about it and you steal all my Coke out of the freezer, and you steal my cocaine, you smoke it all up with some other guy. No, sorry. No,
Yeah, that's an unforgivable sin.
Yeah, I hate when they
Right.
steal my Coke.
Yeah, that's why. By the way, I graduated from meth in Indiana to Coke because Coke's so much better for you than meth.
Well, Coke is
And,
that's what rich people do.
Well, yeah, yes and no. Yes and no. Yeah.
I thought it was just
It's
because it
more
blended in with the
expensive.
snow.
It doesn't last so long. It doesn't last. The difference between Coke and meth is I could have a quarter of meth and I could go for a day. If I could do a quarter of Coke, I'm good for like an hour, or less, depending on how many people are around going, dude, I want a bump, so it's kind of like that. But those days are long behind me. My fans and my friends and my family, anybody here, those days have been behind me for a couple decades now, so please don't think I'm there. I'm just telling the truth about my experiences and how they affected me and how I remember. So I'm done.
At what point did you meet your wife now? Was that in Wisconsin?
Okay. She left, and actually she didn't left. I packed my stuff and moved out of our apartment and left the strip in her apartment. And she went home to her original hometown, which is Michigan. She's from Lansing, Michigan.
Okay.
And I was trying to clean up my act. I was really having a hard time. My dad had basically got busted by the FBI. He was in big trouble. He lost everything. All he had to deal with was my race car parts, which he sold behind my back and pocketed $50,000 of my money.
Wow.
And I was pretty sad about that. As a matter of fact, I was furious about that, but what are you going to do? It's already gone. And I decided to see if I could change my life. And my friend Brian that worked at Harley Davidson was kind of my kind of like the guy that, I don't know, I think there's somebody who comes along in your life that lives a certain way that you look at and you go, man, this guy lives a good life. How does he do that? And he was willing to share it with me. And he basically plumbed me up on a lot of things that I had been missing and mistaken and wrong about. And he turned me on to a good therapist. I spent 6 years in individual and group therapy, trying to work out my crap. About middle of that time, I met. I went to church with him. Actually, he took me to church with him. It was a non-denominational hippie church where they played bongos and stuff. It wasn't anything anybody would recognize, but it was a place of peace, and it was a place of calm, and it was a place of no drugs and no alcohol, and a place where people cared about each other. And it was a place that I needed to be at that time. And then in walks with another guy, my wife now. He brought her to that church. Brian brought me to that church. We sat in a prayer thing together and held hands. And as we walked out, I wrote my name on a matchbook. Yeah, so remember matches? Remember those? I wrote my name.
They're like little flamethrowers, right?
Yeah, where you got to strike them and they never work, and they get wet. But anyway, and then I gave her my number, and the rest is history.
So
yeah.
I'm trying to think. So now you do not live in Wisconsin anymore. So did you
I
get
do
married in
not,
Wisconsin and then moved?
Well, actually, we got married in Alabama. I wanted to get married in Alabama around my crazy Alabama family because I don't know why. I just to piss off my father, I think. He knew he couldn't afford to come. But he did anyway. Drove
wedding
an old
crashers.
station wagon. You know, this is 1995. And he drove down there an old station wagon that still had the wooden tape on the side, you know?
Nice.
So that's all he could afford, you know, like a Vista Cruiser type deal. But he came. God bless him, he came, you know. I didn't think he would come. I really didn't want him to come, but he came, and he brought my mom. And you notice I never referenced my mom?
Yeah.
My mom's a saint. And my mom's a saint, and I love my mother, and that's the end of that. Anyway, yeah, we got married in Alabama and went back to Wisconsin, and I worked at Harley Davidson. She worked at Harley Davidson. They pissed her off. I'm not promoting her. I told her, I said, well, screw them because you're smart. She's smart. My wife is smart. My wife is like making fun of Jeopardy contestants smart. She's the smartest woman I ever met. And I'm like, dang, I said, you got a lot more to offer than you do at this company right here. I said, it's a big world, a big company. I said, go get your MBA, I'll pay for it. Because I was a union millwright, I'm knocking down 100 years. You know, life is good. We're married, we have no kids, we live in an apartment, everything that's paid for. Screw it. Go to the University of Wisconsin, Whitewater, go get your MBA. And she did. And
so she's a Badger.
Surely. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Slowly but surely, she started stabbing her way up the corporate ladder, and now she actually works for General Electric. She controls the billing systems for ships, planes, trains, and trucks for GE, and that's a mid six-figure job, and she's doing quite well. And she does it all from the couch in her pajamas and a laptop with 2 pillows and a dachshund laying on top.
It's the best kind of job.
It's a good job. Yeah, she likes it. She likes it.
So
we can do it any time of the day or night, 24 hours a day. When she's still ready.
So is GE in Wisconsin, or where'd you guys move to?
Oh, well, first we moved to when she got okay. Now this is back to another part of the story. We actually left Wisconsin because there was 122 inches of snow that year. Taxes were high. I've been at Harley Davidson for 17 years. I was kind of burnt out on it because I have happy feet. Okay, I like to do stuff for a while, and I get bored with it, and I want to do something else. Well, I had been in the same factory and corporate headquarters for 17 years, and I was fairly miserable. I was drinking a lot. I mean, if my dick were harder than my liver, I could have been a porn star because I was drinking, you know. And so anyway. Yeah, you like that one?
I'm
Yeah,
done.
that was good.
It's in the third book, first chapter. That one's in there. Anyway, so we decided, you know, we needed to change. So we decided to move south, and a job offer came up available to her to move to Wilmington, North Carolina, which is the very southern, most eastern tip of North Carolina, and it's on the intercoastal, and it's probably one of the more beautiful places in the country. And we were there for between 2008 and 2012, I believe, 11 or 12, and that's where we had. It was nice. It was nice, but I was a stay-at-home dad, and there was no jobs because it was a resort town, and.
Okay.
We had 2 kids by then. One was they just started school. I think Carolyn was in K4 and Grace was in 3rd grade. And it would have cost more to put them in daycare, you know, before and after school than any money I could make because there really was no industry there other than GE Nuclear. And there was very few other companies. So I just said, well, okay, I'm a stay-at-home dad now. Well, you know, stay-at-home dad thing, it's for a guy, it's kind of hard because the other men all go off to work. The women all sit together in their little groups, and you're sitting there kind of alone. And it was really, I felt myself slipping back into my own ways, you know. Is there any there any drug dealers around there? I could really use a joint right now. Who sells weed around this place? One of these stay-at-home moms got to sell weed, But, I never did find anybody like that, unfortunately. But I finally said, hey, I need to do something. I And when I was a kid, I remember my dad saying something to me. He always said, boy, someday I'm going to write a book and tell the story of my life. And he never did shit. He always took the easy route to things. He never saw anything through. Not since he left the Navy. He kind of got screwed by the Navy, and I think it made him bitter. But he never did grasp onto anything after that. And I thought, you know what? I said, all the crazy shit I've been through, I think I'm going to sit down and write a book. Not about the way things were necessarily, but the way things should have been, the way things could be, and the way I think that people should behave towards each other and be good to each other, and when necessary, when they should take each other out. Because this is I need to do something. I just have to do something because I'm dying here. I never thought I'd be begging to go back to the factory, but I was so alone, and it was almost, it was getting dark. And so I sat down and I wrote chapter 1 and I started typing. And I never wrote a book before. I never wrote anything longer than 8-page term paper. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know anything about publishing or self-publishing or anything about anything. I just sat down and I started writing. And before you know it, I had 20 chapters. And I thought, well, that's kind of, wow, 20 chapters. And I'd read it and I go, this is stupid. You're an idiot. You can't do this. This is something, writing a book is something reserved for people of knowledge, people of education, people of letters. Who do you think you are? You're a maintenance man. You're nobody. And I let it go for about a month. And I went to the liquor store and I started talking to the lady at the liquor store. And she says, my dad was an author. He wrote books. Why don't you let me take a look at it? And I said, oh, okay. So I printed off all 20 chapters and I took them to her. And I didn't think nothing of it. And 2 weeks later I went back. It was Memorial Day weekend or Labor Day weekend. I can't remember which. But the liquor store was packed. It's a beach town. The liquor store was packed. It's crazy. And she's working the register. And she looked up and she slammed the register. And she walked around the register through the crowd of people. And she stuck her finger in my chest and she said, don't you dare quit writing.
Wow.
And that's when it started. So the liquor store lady became my muse. That's how completely screwed up everything I do is. My muse is a liquor store lady.
Hey, everyone needs a muse, though.
Yeah, everyone needs a muse. Everybody needs somebody to look at what they're doing and say, okay, keep going. You're good. You're doing good. Keep going. Finish it. And then I did. I finished it.
So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how tough is the publishing process? I've always wondered that.
Okay, there are several ways you can go. I did self-publishing. I did self-publishing through CreateSpace. And I didn't know how to do that. My wife has always volunteered with dog rescues. And she had a friend who wrote a book about a dog that did rather well. And she published it through CreateSpace, which is a division of Amazon. And that's what I used, CreateSpace.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know, but basically it's expensive, okay? And I didn't know about editors, and I don't even know how to write. I had to read other books to find out if the quotation mark, if the period went inside the quotation mark or outside the quotation mark.
I just skipped the period. I don't know.
I didn't know. Well, I didn't know either. But if you're going to write a book, those are things you should know.
Yeah.
And the next thing, I put it out there, and a couple of my blog friends read it, and they wrote me and they said, "Your writing is horrible." They said, "But your story,
inspiring.
Your story is mesmerizing. Oh my God, you need to clean this up. You clean this up, you're going to have something." And I'm like, "Well, how do you clean it up?" They said, "You get an editor." I said, "What's an editor?" And they're like, "Well, that's somebody that goes through and fixes all your crap." And I'm like, "How much are they?" And a good one's like, between $2,000 and $5,000. And I said, "Well, I don't have one." And they're like, "Okay, well, we're going to send it." So I used to hang out at a blog called Ace of Spades. I don't know if you ever heard of that or not. but I
Nope.
still do, as a matter of fact. They became my friends. But all these people at Ace of Spades, I like crowdsourced my editing. So they would all send me stuff on email telling me what to fix. So I took the master copy and I started going through the master copy and fixing stuff when they'd send it to me. And then I finally got it decent, and then I sent it back in and to be re-released. And I'd only sold like 5 or 6 copies, you know. And then next thing you know, word of mouth's getting out, and then I'm selling hundreds of copies. And then the next thing I know, I've sold 1,000 copies, and then 5,000 copies. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here, you know? And then I get invited to CPAC in Washington, D.C. to sit on a panel of conservative authors in 2014. And I'm like, what's going on here, you know? And they're like, you need to write the second book. I go, second book? What are you talking about? I go, I barely wrote this book. And they're like, no, you need a second book. So I wrote the second book in like 5 months because I kind of, you know, I kind of fell in love with her, with Amy, because this book thing to me has become real. These people are real to me, you know, and they become real to the readers. And I think that's why they fall in love with them.
So I have a random question.
Sure.
Okay, so you said especially the first book is more follows the story of your life, and obviously you changed names and probably places and stuff like that. But you also picked a female protagonist, and so is the female? Did you replace yourself with Amy, or is Amy like a fictional character in the same setting?
That's a question I won't answer.
Oh, man.
I know, but I will tell you this, though. When deciding on a protagonist,
Uh-huh.
I am surrounded by women. I have a blonde-haired wife, 2 blonde-haired daughters, 2 female puggles. And the dachshund we just got as a rescue is the only other boy in this house, and we're tight.
Yeah, go
You
figure.
know,
The only other boy also had to be rescued.
Oh, yeah, no shit, eh?
Yeah, seriously.
That's exactly right.
That's the irony of life.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
So we're almost to the end of the interview. However, there's one other thing that I found so interesting about your story. You had a stint as a skydiving instructor. So what I want to know is, how did you get into it? And as I understand, you retired. So kind of what led to your retirement?
Okay. My friend I was telling you about, who was kind of my mentor at Harley Davidson, who put me on a path to righteousness, little did I know that he was one of the best skydivers in the country. Because when you know people at work, but you don't know them outside of work. You know, you think you know people at work, and you get them outside of work, and they're entirely different people. Well, he had a fight with his wife, and he called me on the phone. He said, Jack, I need a place to stay. I said, well, hell, I had a finished basement. You know, there was nobody in it. I said, well, come on. You know, because I grew up, my dad's from Alabama, my mom's from Central Illinois. You know, so if you need something, I'm there. You need to eat, I got food. You need a place to sleep, I got a warm bed for you. That's just the way it is. So he came over, and he spent about a month with me. And my wife adored him. He's just a wonderful man. And at the end of it, he said, well, he tried to give me money. You know, I said, I don't want your money. I can't take your money. And this was after my racing had ended. This was after, actually, my father had passed away, because he passed away of pancreatic cancer in 2001. And so he said, well, I have something for you. I want to share something. I said, okay. So next thing I know, I'm at Skydive Skydiving Club in East Troy, Wisconsin, which is about 25, 30 miles outside, maybe west of Milwaukee. And I said, oh, my God, you're a skydiver? I said, yeah. And a couple other guys from Harley Davidson were also skydivers. And he says, I got something for you. So he paid for my accelerated free fall program. And it's funny, because when we were first talking, you asked me if I would do the static line program or the tandem program. And I said the accelerated free fall. And basically what it is you go through an 8-hour class. They put a parachute on your back. They put 2 instructors on the plane. You get to the door. One's on the outside. One's on the inside. You jump out. They hang on to you, make sure you're stable. They tell you to pull. If you don't pull, they pull for you. And that is your ASF class. And then you slowly work your way up from 2 instructors to 1 instructor. And then you're doing solos. And then you get your A license. And it goes on from there. Well, I kind of made my first jump, and I was like, I told my wife, I said, give me the credit card, I'm going again. And it was a new addiction for me. And it was almost as fun as racing. It lacked the competitiveness of racing, but it certainly had the thrill of racing. And over time, I got my 500 jumps, and I got my D license, which allowed me to become a coach and a tandem instructor. So I became a tandem instructor. That's where you put people on the front of you and latch them down tight and jump out of an airplane. And I really loved it, and I love those people. You know, it's a very hedonistic society, and the people there are very smart, because you can't be an idiot in skydive. You don't last long. And there's a lot going on there. There's a lot to know. There's a lot to understand. There's a lot to think about when you're in the sky, because you're dealing with all these other people. You're dealing with closing speeds. You're dealing with all of these things that can kill you. And at first, when you show up at the drop zone, they treat you like furniture. But fortunately, I had Brian. And Brian kind of introduced me to people, and I had that in that many other people don't have. But if it's something that interests you and you want to go there, and just understand they're going to treat you like furniture until they trust you, because you can kill them. But it's something. It's a glorious thing to do, and it's a lot of fun, and it's safer than riding a motorcycle. I know that because once I turned in my motorcycle license, my insurance rate went down. My life insurance went down $100 a year.
Nice.
So in my skydiving, actually skydiving is cheaper to add on to your insurance than motorcycle riding. So in that vein, actuarial tables say that skydiving is safer than motorcycle riding. But anyway, we train and we practice and we train and we practice and we work very hard to be safe. And in 2008, it wasn't long before we moved. I had a 30-year-old girl with me, and that was her birthday. And we jumped, and she had a good time. I had a camera flyer with me, and we pulled. And I had a canopy, a big canopy, but I went to pull my steering toggles, and one of my toggles wouldn't release, and that put us in a spin. So I finally got the spin squared away, and I kind of tapped her on the shoulder and gave her the toggle. I said, hey, would you hold this? I got to try to free this up here. So she's hanging on to the toggle, and she's not doing a good job. So we start spinning again. And I'm looking at my altitude, and if you don't have anything to land by, I think, 3,500 feet, I can't remember if it's 3,500 or 4,500 feet, it was a while ago, you need to chop it and go after your reserve. So I looked at it, and I finally made the decision to cut away and go for my reserve, and I did. And during that process, I thought to myself, man, we're on the last shot here, you know. And your reserve is going to open. Your reserve is packed professionally every 180 days by a rigger. It has to be. It has a seal on it. It's the most critical piece of equipment you have is your reserve, and it's done well. But still, you know, when you go for that last handle, it's like,
that's terrifying.
You're like, well, you don't have another one to pull after that.
Yeah, you're done. You know, and it opened, and I landed her. We get it in on her butt, and she was happy. She didn't even know nothing happened. She didn't even know there was a problem, which is my job to make sure she doesn't know there's a problem. But there was a problem. And I went home, and I sat down, and my kids climbed up in my lap, and I'm watching TV, and I'm looking at my wife, and I'm looking around my house. I'm thinking to myself, you know, maybe this is not something I need to be doing, you know. And not too long after that, we moved anyway. But I miss all those people, and I miss that sport, and I love that sport. I actually got a state record, a POPS record, which is parachutist over 40, and it was a POPS belly flying record. I think it's 22 or something like that, a 22-way out of a big caravan.
You might have a second record of most spins done attached to a 30-year-old woman. Okay. I mean, you never know. Who's counting?
But yeah, it was. I loved it. I loved skydiving. I loved it a lot. I got to travel all over the country. I took my wife to Hawaii. I jumped at Gilligan Field in Hawaii, which at the end of the runway is where they filmed the series Lost. So actually flying in, you could see the aircraft fuselage there that they used from the television show. And I jumped in Ixtapa, Mexico. That was a lot of fun. I actually got to do an air show. I learned how to carry the flag, which is, there's a skill to that, believe it or not. And I was circled by World War II warbirds at a big air show in Aurora, Illinois. And that was fun. Was it Aurora? I had to check the poster. I got the posters on my wall. I think it was.
Or
no, it wasn't Aurora.
Peoria.
It was Waukegan. The Waukegan Air Show. That's where it was. The Waukegan Air Show.
Random question: is the past tense of skydive? Is it skydived or skydove?
I would say it's skydive.
Okay.
I skydived.
Okay.
I skydived. I don't know.
Skydived sounds right.
Yeah, I
What am I? What do you think I am, an author or something? Jeez.
I skydoved once.
Literature thing.
Yeah, that's a doozy.
I will have skydived once.
Yes, that is past future tense.
I'll have to consult the Oracle and figure that out.
That one's a
That'd be
doozy.
cool.
So I think that's all we have. Jake, do you have any other questions?
Well, I mean, I really enjoyed talking to you here. I guess the only other question I have, so you're working on the 4th book in your series. What other goals do you have, or stuff that's on your? I guess what would be your bucket list stuff that you'd be wanting to try in the future?
Well, actually, I got bored here, and I went to Greenville Tech, and I got my CDL, and now I drive a semi-truck. So I always wanted to learn to drive a semi-truck. So I drive a semi-truck, just running from a warehouse to a factory back and forth. It's fun. I don't know if you've ever driven a semi-truck before, but
I have not.
There's a lot of power. You look down at those kids in their 4-wheel drives and you laugh at them. You ain't got no power.
I do that part
power.
anyway.
Yeah. So, so my wife says my job is to do 3 things with my truck driving. I need to pay for, because I got this little kick-ass Toyota Tundra truck with 4-wheel drive. It's really pretty. And I got to pay for that, and I have to pay for my daughter's private school, which is $12,000 a year, my youngest one. And I have to buy her a boat. So we're going to get a pontoon boat, I think, and go out on these lakes down here in the south and fly our rebel flag and drink out of our jars and swim and just act like idiots. So that's my job.
Well, that's the American dream right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. And I see all these girls in these stars and bars bikini, young girls, and I like young girls, but I'm married, so I can't do nothing about it. But they're a lot of fun to look at. But then again, I got daughters. I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. So then I look at them, and they're still 2 and 3 in my mind. They're not that old in my mind. So I got to think about having daughters and looking at other people's daughters and the dichotomy there, which is very guilt-ridden. But
I love I love that you mentioned that, because I'm 27, but I have that as a pre-fear. If I ever have a daughter, where's the difference?
Oh, it's very real.
Man.
It's very real. It's a real fear, and you'll just have to deal with it like the rest of us, buddy, because there is no secret.
I appreciate the honesty, because I have asked several, older men that I know or work with, and they're always like, no, I don't look at younger girls. I'm like, bullshit.
You liar.
You liar. You liar.
Yeah.
You liar. Somebody asked me one time, they says, if your books get big and you turn into a Tom Clancy, they said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'll be dead in 2 years. They said, why is that? I said, because I'll be snorting coke out the fake tits of a Russian hooker in my Ferrari. Because I know me.
So you'll die of happiness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There'll be a fireball. And my wife told me, she said, you do whatever you want. She said, just keep, she just make sure the life insurance is big. She said, I'll be sad if you die. She said, but I'll be sad with Papa the pool boy. I said, well, there you go, honey. Fair is fair.
That is the purest win-win I've ever heard.
Yeah. That's
Oh, yeah. Well, when you're married for 21 years, you're brutally honest, and you can't bullshit each other, so it's kind of easy to talk. It's a long road to get there, but once you reach that point where you both look at each other and you know what you're thinking, the payoff is there, and it's worth it.
That's
so
incredible.
if you're married and fight through it, love your wife, treat her like gold, because in the end, she's your buddy and she's all you got. So I talk a lot of shit, but I'll tell you what, I wouldn't trade that woman sitting in the other room right now for nothing, for all the money for my own life.
Are you going to show her this episode? Just kidding.
Huh?
Are you going to let her listen to this episode?
She won't listen to it. She don't care. She thinks my whole book writing thing's a joke. She laughs at it.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
how our women feel
Yeah.
in our hobbies.
My wife
It's
hates
funny
the
because
podcast.
check this out. When I was telling you about landing with the American flag with the World War II bird circling me,
Yeah.
there's a crowd of like 12,000 people, right? And I come zooming in, in my fancy suit. I do my little stand-up landing, and the people are cheering, and I'm waving, I get to the crowd, and there she's standing there looking at me, and she looked at me and she said, "Did you look at the garbage before you left?"
That is awesome.
Nothing's ever enough.
So her job is that when that head starts swelling, she takes that white pin and she sticks a hole in it and brings it back to where it belongs. So that's why I love her, because she don't let me get too carried away.
I feel like, just based on your description of your relationship with her and how she is as a person, like post-retirement, you guys could start the first tandem marriage counseling. That'd be interesting.
Oh, no.
Nope.
No, if you don't, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what life brings.
Now that I've
done a lot of stuff.
Now that I said it, don't let her listen to this episode. But
some people don't like to hear the truth. Some people shy away from the truth. The truth is a hard thing
absolutely.
to hear. The mirror is a hard thing to
I
look
hate
at.
hearing it.
So Jack, I think we're done. So
I don't have any other questions.
man, I feel like you're gonna write an autobiography at some point, and we're gonna read it. Yeah, so interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's all going to be fiction, because my children are going to read it someday, and I don't. Some things you want your children to know, but other things you don't.
No, that makes
and
sense.
there's things.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's things that I would rather. There are things about my mom and my dad that I want to keep, and things I wish I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I think we all need heroes, and our heroes should be our parents. And I think you should put forth the best face you can. And some things don't need to be shared. And that's just my opinion.
I can respect that.
Yeah, I like that sentiment. So most of all, I definitely want to say thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fantastic.
Hey, I had a great time with you guys. I look forward to listening to your future shows, and if you ever need anything, on that, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, again, Jack July, accredited author, skydiving, award-winning author, skydiving instructor, fiber optic groundbreaker,
race car driver,
truck driver,
meth enthusiast,
and most of all, husband and daddy.
All right.
Yeah.
Those are the best parts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Jack, until next time.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Well, that was fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah, I like that. That was our first official interview on the show.
He complimented us on our organization, and that was our first time doing it.
Yeah, I think we faked it pretty well.
Yeah, fake it till you make it.
I think that's isn't that one of the life skills they teach you at MIT?
Yes. I don't know what MIT is, but I'm faking it.
Masturbation Institutional Technology.
Yes. Man.
I think I made 2 of those parts up.
Yeah, I think you did.
I did too.
Because it's informational. Or information.
I don't know. MIT is not even real.
So, yeah, obviously when we post this, if you're listening to this episode on like iTunes or something, you're not going to see the Jack July links. However, on our SoundCloud page, which everything links back to, you can find the links to his books there. It is the Amy Lynn series, and if you read all 3, then you'll understand what's going on when the 4th comes out.
Yeah, you'll be ready. I bet that you'll be able to read the 4th book in his series before fans of Game of Thrones get to read the 6th book.
Is the 6th the last book?
No, he's got that one and then another planned.
Okay, in the 4th Amy Lynn book, Jack July just texted me a sneak peek into it. It turns out Snape isn't dead. Just kidding. I made that up.
It was Professor McGonagall the whole time.
Oh my god. Or Lupin. Well, Lupin's probably dead.
Remus. He did die.
This is a spin-off podcast where we just talk about Harry Potter.
We put the wrong part at the end of the interview.
No. So, yeah, once we actually put our introduction before the interview, this is probably going to be an hour-and-a-half episode. If you are still with us, thank you for listening.
Yeah, and again, and thanks to Jack for coming on the show.
This was phenomenal. I feel like I was entertained while recording, which...
Well, and, I mean, honestly, he did all the work.
Yeah. I almost didn't want to talk and just let him... He should have come up with his own questions and his own answers.
It would have been like when Dwight was interviewing himself for the regional manager job.
Yeah, before they picked Danny California. What's his name?
Robert California.
Robert California. I was thinking Red Hot. Sweet bandana. Okay.
Robert on a bang in the state of Indiana.
God, I hate that song. So, yeah, thank you for listening. Shit, should we go over... No.
Follow us on Twitter.
In the intro, let's... follow us on Twitter. We're at Jake Josh Podcast on Twitter. You can email us Jake N, just the letter N, Josh at gmail.com, or Jake and Josh Podcast at gmail.com.
Instagram, Jake and Josh Podcast.
Yep, Jake and Josh Podcast.
And then,
by the way,
we know Jack's Twitter handle?
No. Dang, hold on. Fuck, we should just have it ready.
Yeah.
While I do that, speaking of Twitter...
These organizational skills.
Speaking of Twitter, we eclipsed 4,400 Twitter followers recently.
That shit cray.
Seriously, who saw that coming?
I saw it coming like 3 years from now. I definitely didn't see it coming within the year.
Man.
Hold on. Josh forgot how Twitter works.
No, what happens is we get so many fucking... random.
We get so many, like, there's so many
I
people
wish
that
people
we
knew
follow.
the struggle.
At
author Jake
July.
Jake July. God
author,
damn it.
Author Jack July.
That's his Twitter handle.
Yeah, so follow Jack on Twitter too. You can see updates on his upcoming books, I'm assuming.
Yeah. He actually doesn't tweet a ton, but it was interesting because he found us on Twitter and reached out about being on the show, and that's how this whole thing got started.
Well, just follow him because you follow us.
Yeah, follow both.
Yeah. He's on Team Follow Back.
He actually is. Yeah. And he only has 618 followers. Let's make it 1,000.
Yeah, let's get him up.
All right, so thank you for listening. That's all I got.
I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as we did. Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Love you.